Welcome, deep divers, to another journey with us. Today, well, we're not just glancing at a pretty picture, are we? We're launching into a real deep dive, looking at a place that honestly challenges our whole idea of a tropical getaway. This isn't just, a postcard. It's a place full of deep contrasts, constantly changing, sometimes in really startling ways. Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into the fascinating layered story of Koh Samui. We're drawing heavily from our source, Koh Samui, Thailand's coconut island reimagined. Our mission today: to get past the shiny brochures, we want to explore how this island isn't just one single paradise, but actually it's more like a complex, vibrant collection of different worlds. And these worlds are shaped by history, by money, and even by how you actually get there.
And what's really fascinating, I think, and often missed, is how the island's name, its ancient identity, gives us this big hint about why it's always appealed to people. But that appeal has shifted, dramatically shifted over the centuries. Our goal here is to really understand the journey of this chunk of granite, covered in rainforest, fringed with those famous palm trees right there in the Gulf of Thailand. How did it go from being this ancient, almost mythical safe haven to, well, the buzzing, globally known tourist spot we see today? And maybe more importantly, we need to explore the complex, sometimes difficult tensions that came out of that huge change. The big question for us, and really for any place developing this quickly, is how does an island manage to be both things at once? Quiet, secluded escape, and a really busy modern hotspot. Often right next to each other on a fairly small piece of land. We'll really get into how your own journey there, the choices you make just getting onto the island, directly shapes what you experience. It influences which of Samui's different worlds you end up seeing and living in for your trip.
It's this rich tapestry, isn't it? History, changing economies, and that constant human desire for both escape and excitement.
That really sets the scene perfectly. It paints a picture that's way more complex than just, sand and sunshine. So let's start by listening for those echoes, those hints of its ancient identity. It's a story that, like so many good ones, starts with the name Samui. It's intriguing, and it holds some powerful clues about its deep and maybe surprising past. It's not just a random label, is it?
Not at all.
Our source material points to a couple of really compelling origins. It might come from mui, which is apparently a common local tree. That's straightforward enough, a connection to nature. But the one that really grabs you, the one that feels like it reflects its history more deeply, is the possible link to the Chinese word saboe or the Malay saboe. And get this, both of those mean safe haven. Imagine that. A place literally named for being a refuge.
Wow.
And this isn't some recently discovered paradise either. We've got archaeological proof, solid evidence, pointing to people living on Koh Samui for over 2,000 years.
2 millennia.
Exactly, but that's a much longer, richer history than most people would probably guess for a modern tourist island. It immediately tells you there's a depth here, a resilience that goes way beyond just being trendy.
Absolutely. And that safe haven idea, the etymology, it isn't just some interesting linguistic fact. It's a direct reflection of Koh Samui's historical importance, especially in that part of the world, the Gulf of Thailand, which, as you know, can have some seriously rough weather, sudden storms, big monsoons. So for ancient sailors, whether they were fishermen from the Malay Peninsula or traders coming down from southern China, the sea was often dangerous. Samui, with its natural bays, its sheltered spots, fresh water, it was a literal lifesaver, a place to shelter from storms, fix their boats, get supplies, let the crew recover. This role is a vital refuge. It's so deeply embedded in the region's history. The fact that it shows up on Chinese maps way back in 1687 under the name Pulau Kornam, that tells you something. It was known, recognized as this essential safe spot in a pretty turbulent sea.
Right. Pulau Kornam. That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
But what's truly amazing, what makes its modern story even more incredible, is just how isolated this safe haven stayed for centuries. Despite being strategically important, we're talking about a community that was pretty much self-sufficient, mostly cut off from whatever was happening in the outside world. Our source highlights something that really brings this home. Until the early 1970s, the island literally had no roads.
No roads. Wow.
Yeah, just picture it. A trip of maybe 15 kilometers, like 9 miles,
Right.
from one side of the island to the other. That wasn't a quick drive. It was a massive trek. It could take hours, maybe even a whole day. You'd be hacking through dense, mountainous jungle in the middle of the island. The landscape itself was a barrier, and that wasn't just inconvenient. It shaped their whole way of life. It fostered this real self-reliance, strong communities, a culture born out of, well, necessity. Daily life was very local.
Completely self-contained, almost.
Pretty much. And the economy. Forget tourism. It was all about what the island itself provided naturally. Mainly coconuts, and some rubber, too. Samui used to be famous, one of the world's biggest coconut producers. The landscape was just miles of palm groves. And they had this really unique, honestly charming way of harvesting them.
Oh, I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, you probably do. Imagine highly trained monkeys. Smart, agile little things scaling these super tall palm trees incredibly fast to twist off the ripe coconuts and drop them down.
Incredible, isn't it? Trained monkeys.
It's not just a cute story. It paints this amazing picture of a real partnership with nature, a sustainable way of life where people and animals work together. It shows this ingenuity, this respect for the environment that existed long before modern stuff, long before tourism was even a concept. It was an island living in tune with its surroundings.
That's a world away from today.
Totally. So when we talk about Samui, about being a safe haven, you realize that concept has gone through this massive, almost philosophical change. Back then, it was literal. Physical refuge for sailors, safety from storms, from the dangers of the sea. Today, that same idea has morphed into a modern psychological escape for tourists from all over the world. Instead of needing shelter from actual storms, people now are looking for a break from, the stress of modern life, the constant emails, the 24/7 news cycle. It's a huge shift from physical survival to, mental and spiritual recharging. And understanding this evolution across thousands of years, it gives you a real feel for its deep, untamed past. It helps you grasp just how immense the change has been. Makes you wonder, doesn't it, what kind of haven we're all really looking for these days?
It really does make you stop and think, just picturing that a full day to cross 15 kilometers, how that must have shaped everything. Or an economy built around coconut harvesting monkeys. That gives you such a deep, almost gut-level sense of its past. A world completely different from the luxury resorts you see now.
Complete.
But this brings us right to the core of our deep dive, doesn't it? The big question. How did an island that was so cut off, so preserved in its own rhythm, so deeply rooted in being a physical safe haven for centuries, how did it suddenly get pulled into the massive current of global tourism? How did it become this global magnet? It wasn't slow and steady. It feels more like a sudden jolt, triggered by things both natural and, man-made, things that broke that ancient isolation and threw Samui into the modern era. So let's shift gears now. Let's look at that massive change, the modern metamorphosis that reshaped absolutely everything.
That's exactly the turning point. And it's a story of, unexpected arrivals and some very clever planning. Our source highlights two really pivotal things that kicked off Samui's modern chapter, completely changing its path. The first moment, maybe the more organic one, almost accidental, was when the first backpackers started showing up in the early 1970s.
The pioneers.
Exactly. Picture these adventurous types, often young Europeans, searching for something real, something untouched in Asia, trying to escape the mass tourism starting elsewhere. They literally arrived on the backs of coconut boats, humble fishing boats or cargo boats. They'd have taken ages to get there, multiple legs to the journey, their hotels, often just a hammock between palm trees or a super basic bamboo hut that cost next to nothing.
Roughing it.
Totally. They weren't after luxury. They wanted authenticity, raw paradise, a place where life moved slowly. They wanted to disconnect. These first adventurers, living super cheap, they started the very first basic guest houses, maybe just a spare room or simple beach huts. They ate with local families, learned basic Thai cooking. They were really immersed in the island's life. This slow trickle, driven by word of mouth, was the first tiny crack in Samui's isolation. It set the stage. They found their safe haven, not from storms, but from modern life.
A different kind of storm.
Precisely. But while the backpackers opened a little window, the second event, and this was the big one, the most significant by far, was the construction of the privately owned Samui Airport in 1989.
Okay, here we go.
This wasn't just another airport. It was the catalyst, the game changer. It completely rewrote the island's future. The source says, quite emphatically, that this single piece of infrastructure metamorphosed the island from a sleepy fisherman's island into a full-on global tourist destination.
Metamorphosed. Strong word.
It is. Think about it. One project, a runway, a terminal. It basically wiped out centuries of isolation almost overnight. Before '89, getting to Samui was an adventure, a multi-day thing for the really determined or budget-focused traveler. Suddenly, it was just over an hour's flight from Bangkok. That transformed it, made it easy to reach, aspirational for a much wider, wealthier group of people. This sudden shift in accessibility changed who could come, and crucially, how many people could come. That was the moment Samui truly joined the global tourism map.
It's hard to grasp the sheer impact of one piece of infrastructure like that.
Yeah.
And the incredibly fast development that must have followed the airport opening, well, it didn't just bring progress, did it? It created this core tension, something you can almost feel, that really defines Samui today. It's not straightforward. It's this constant push and pull, this tricky, sometimes uneasy negotiation. On one side, you've got the huge demand for development that comes with being a global destination. You know, luxury resorts popping up, more roads, endless restaurants, all the infrastructure needed for potentially hundreds of thousands of visitors a year.
Right, the demand is huge.
But on the other side, you have that lingering memory, the undeniable pull of the original, authentic, quiet peacefulness that drew the first backpackers and, well, sustained those ancient sailors too. This tension, it's not static. It's alive. It shapes every decision, every new building, every single experience on the island. So if we take a step back, what does this constant negotiation, this, as you said, fascinating dance between keeping things the same and pushing forward, what does it really mean for the island's identity now? Is it always a graceful dance, or is it sometimes more like a struggle? We've seen it happen elsewhere, haven't we? Rapid development just steamrollers the original charm, leaves behind something kind of bland, maybe even sterile. So what's going on in Samui? What are the sort of mechanisms or maybe the philosophies that let it keep this duality without completely losing the very thing that made it special in the first place? It plays out everywhere, from the quiet beaches to the busy night markets.
That's a really good question, and honestly, it's often a bit of both. It's a dance and a struggle happening at the same time. Understanding this ongoing dynamic, this constant interplay, is absolutely vital if you want to unlock the different worlds Koh Samui offers today. This tension isn't just a problem to be solved or something inconvenient. It is the living, breathing reality of that duality we talked about right at the start. You'll find areas, maybe less famous beaches or villages tucked away inland, where that old, quiet past still feels present, where life has a rhythm closer to its isolated history. But then just a short drive away, you hit these buzzing modern tourist centers full of energy, shops, international food. The amazing thing is how they coexist. Sometimes it feels quite harmonious, other times it definitely clashes in ways that make you think. It's this dynamic, this mix of old and new, that gives the island its unique texture, its complex character, makes it so much more interesting than just a one-note destination.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And this brings up a really important point, not just for Samui, but for you, the traveler, thinking about these things. When a safe haven becomes a global hotspot, how does it actually keep its soul? How does it protect its unique nature, its fragile ecosystem, and importantly, its local identity, its culture, while also grabbing the economic benefits that tourism obviously brings? It's a very delicate balance, like walking a tightrope between money and preservation. And maybe even more relevant for you, the visitor. How does that tension affect your experience? Do you actively look for the bits of the old safe haven, wanting peace and authenticity? Or you dive into the modern side, looking for energy and luxury? Your choices, even before you book your flight, they subtly influence which version of Samui you find. And in turn, you become part of the island's ongoing story, its evolution.
That's a brilliant point and so true, because your choices, especially how you decide to get to Koh Samui, they aren't just about logistics, about convenience or cost. They really are, as our source puts it so well, a kind of great filter. They create these completely different worlds within Samui itself. It's not just about arriving on an island. It's about making a choice, maybe without even realizing it, that segments travelers before they even land. And that fundamentally shapes their whole holiday.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, and actually quite profound when you think about it. The journey itself acts as this great filter, this subtle but really powerful sorting hat, if you like. It doesn't just split visitors by how much money they have, but by what they expect, what they prioritize, and ultimately the kind of holiday they're actually looking for, all before they even feel the sand between their toes. The island's transport system basically carves out these distinct groups and experiences, pre-shaping which of Samui's many worlds you're likely to step into. It's fascinating, almost like watching sociology in action.
Precisely. The infrastructure, how you get to Samui and how you get around, it's not neutral at all. It actively creates and reinforces these different worlds. It sorts travelers by budget, yes, but also by how much time they have, how much adventure they want, even their basic travel philosophy. There are basically two main ways to get to the island. Each has its own feel, its own implications, and each tends to attract a different type of traveler, setting the tone right from the start.
Okay, let's break this down.
Right. Let's start with what we're calling the premium route, the direct flight. This is, hands down, the fastest, the easiest, the most convenient way. You fly straight into Samui International Airport. The code is USM. And it's important to know, this isn't just any old airport. It regularly gets voted one of the world's most beautiful airports. Seriously, it wins awards.
Oh, really? What makes it special?
Well, it's got this unique open-air design, very tropical.
Huh?
Think thatched roofs, lots of greenery, gardens, a really relaxed, almost resort-like feel. It immediately makes you feel like you've arrived somewhere special, somewhere tropical. Your arrival isn't just functional. It's part of the holiday experience itself, designed to make you feel good right away.
Nice start to a holiday.
Definitely. But here's the kicker, the economic factor that really makes this the premium route. Samui Airport is privately owned. It's run exclusively by Bangkok Airways.
Ah, okay. That's unusual.
It is, and it has big consequences. While it offers amazing convenience and that beautiful arrival, the exclusivity means ticket prices are way higher than flying to other places in Thailand. And crucially, no low-cost airlines fly directly into USM. They just can't. So this control effectively makes a direct flight a premium option. It mainly attracts a wealthier crowd, people who value their time, comfort, and a smooth journey above everything else. Also, think about the money, airport fees, related services. Instead of that revenue going into general public funds through taxes, it might be more concentrated with the airline and its partners. This subtly influences how Samui develops, often pushing towards high-end hotels and exclusive stuff rather than things that benefit everyone. It creates its own little economic bubble on the island.
Right, that makes a huge difference to the whole ecosystem.
For sure. Now, the convenience for those choosing this route is fantastic. There are loads of direct flights from Bangkok's two main airports, Suvarnabhumi, BKK, and Don Mueang, DMK. Flight time is just over an hour, easy peasy. You can also fly direct from other Thai cities like Phuket or Chiang Mai, which is great if you're doing a multi-stop trip. And internationally, there are direct flights from places like Singapore, Hong Kong, Kuala Lumpur. Makes Samui a really accessible international escape. So if you choose this way, you're clearly picking speed, efficiency, comfort. You value your time. You want a curated, hassle-free trip. And that naturally puts you in a certain group arriving on the island. You're probably heading to a different type of place, maybe a luxury villa, a fancy boutique hotel. You're looking for different activities. You're stepping into a specific Koh Samui experience, one designed for effortless enjoyment and top service.
Okay, that paints a very clear picture of the premium arrival. But what about the other side of this great filter? For people with maybe less cash to splash or more time, or maybe just a taste for the journey itself, there's what you call the value route, multimodal travel.
It's exactly.
This path sounds like it's less about sheer speed and more about, well, the actual experience of getting there. Often involves hitting the Thai mainland first, usually that city Surat Thani, before the final ferry ride over to the island.
That's the one.
This route definitely caters to a different sort of traveler, doesn't it? Someone maybe looking for more immersion, more adventure, or just trying to make their money go further. It feels like this is where that great filter really kicks in, sorting people out before they've even unpacked.
It's a conscious choice, isn't it? Trading instant convenience for maybe a deeper feel for the country or just stretching the budget. And that choice heavily influences the first world of Samui they encounter.
Absolutely. And this multimodal route isn't just one thing. It's actually a range of choices, each with its own pace, its own vibe, its own appeal. Each option tells you something about the traveler choosing it.
Okay, so what are the main options here? Let's start with option A, flight and ferry. This is really popular, kind of a balance, a middle ground between the pricey direct flight and the really long overland journeys. You start by grabbing a low-cost flight from Bangkok down to Surat Thani Airport, that's URT. These flights are much, much cheaper than flying direct to Samui. Big saving right there.
Okay, makes sense.
Once you land at Surat Thani, you usually buy a combined ticket, bus, and ferry. The bus takes you from the airport straight to Donsak Pier, which is the main ferry port on the mainland. Then you hop on the ferry for the last bit. It's at a 1.5 to 2 hour crossing over the Gulf of Thailand to Samui. All in all, the total journey time is roughly 5 to 7 hours, give or take, depending on your connections.
Still quite a bit longer than the direct flight.
Oh yeah, definitely. You trade about half a day of travel time for significant cost savings. This is often the choice for people watching their budget but who still want a bit of modern efficiency. They don't want to spend all their time traveling. They arrive maybe feeling like they've navigated something, earned their island escape a bit more.
Right. Okay, what's next?
Next up is option B, train and ferry. Now this one has a certain romance to it, doesn't it? Especially popular with backpackers, adventurers, people who really see the journey as part of the fun. You take an overnight train from Bangkok. usually from one of the big stations like Kuala Lumpur or the new Krungthep Afuat Central Terminal heading south to Surathani. It's more than just transport. It's an experience. You get to see the Thai countryside rolling by.
Mm.
And, importantly for budget travelers, taking an overnight sleeper train saves you paying for a hotel room in Bangkok.
Hmm.
That's a big draw for backpackers counting every penny.
Smart.
You share compartments, chat with other travelers, swap stories. There's a real sense of camaraderie sometimes. The train ride itself is long, maybe 8 to 12 hours. Then you still need the bus transfer to the pier and the ferry. So total travel times are probably 10 to 14 hours.
That's a significant journey.
It is. But for many, that experience, the rhythm of the train, the unfolding scenery, meeting people, it's a treasured part of the trip. It's like getting a taste of real Thailand before you even hit the beach. They arrive, maybe a bit tired, but with stories to tell.
I can see the appeal. And the last one.
And finally, option C, bus and ferry. This is generally the absolute cheapest way to do it. Requires the biggest time commitment, though, but saves the most money. You'd usually take a long-distance bus, maybe 10 to 12 hours, from Bangkok's southern bus terminal, that's Sai Mai, all the way down to the Surathani. The buses vary, some are basic, some okay, but it's a long ride, often overnight.
Okay, a real marathon.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Then from Surathani, you connect to the ferry, same as the other options. Total travel time here can range quite a bit, maybe 12 to 16 hours. It's definitely an endurance test for some. This is really the route for the super budget conscious traveler, someone with plenty of time and patience who wants to stretch their money as far as possible. It's a commitment. It shows resilience, maybe a desire to see Thailand at a slower ground level, even if it's more challenging. These travelers often arrive with a real sense of achievement, having crossed half the country, and they're probably looking for the most authentic, budget-friendly experiences Samui offers, connecting with local life, not hiding away in a resort.
Wow, that really breaks it down.
Yeah, if we tie all this back to the big picture, you really see how these longer, more involved journeys naturally attract a very different type of traveler. Someone with more time, less money, maybe looking for that authentic experience, more interaction with local ways of doing things, less instant luxury. This self-selection process, this great filter, it sorts them out before they even arrive. And it really does influence to a large extent which world of Samui they end up in and contribute to. Whether it's the fancy resorts catering to the direct flyers, the lively backpacker hubs, or the quieter local areas where you might get a deeper cultural connection. It's a fascinating example of how tourism works, all playing out on one island.
That's such a powerful point, and one we probably don't think about enough. These travel choices aren't just about getting from A to B, they actively shape who is where on the island, and ultimately, the kind of holiday you have. I mean, think about it. The person who chose the 16-hour bus and ferry, saving every baht, soaking up every bit of the journey, they're probably not looking for the same resort or the same vibe as someone who zipped in directly from Singapore in an hour, wanting maximum comfort and instant pampering. It really does create these distinct realities, different worlds coexisting on this one island, makes Samui incredibly diverse, maybe in ways people don't expect.
Exactly right.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Koh Samui, it's crystal clear, isn't it? This island is so much more than just another pretty picture in a travel mag. We've traced its ancient history, seen its crucial role as a literal safe haven for sailors facing rough seas. We looked at its unique past economy, coconuts and rubber, deeply connected to nature, even involving those trained monkeys. And then we saw that dramatic, almost overnight transformation, kicked off by those early backpackers, then massively accelerated by that strategic private airport.
A pivotal moment.
Today, Samui is this vibrant, complex place, defined by that fascinating, sometimes obvious tension between its preserved past, its nonstop drive towards progress, towards being part of the global scene. It truly is, just like our source said, a collection of worlds. You can still hear faint whispers of the ancient past meeting the loud, lively shouts of a modern paradise. And as we've really dug into, the specific world you find yourself in, the Samui you get to know, is heavily influenced not just by its history or current development, but by the actual path you took to get there. Your arrival method says a lot about your travel style.
And that, I think, is the real lasting point here. Understanding this deep, complex history and understanding how access works, how people get to a place allows for a much richer, more thoughtful, and ultimately more respectful way of seeing any destination, not just Samui. It pushes us to look beyond the surface, beyond the first glossy impression, and really engage with the complicated forces that shape a place. Which brings us to a final, maybe critical question for you, the listener, to mull over as you think about your own travels. With the global hunger for paradise just growing and growing, What does it actually take for an island like Koh Samui to genuinely stay a safe haven? Not just for us travelers looking for a break from our busy lives, but also for its fragile environment, its unique ecosystem, and maybe most importantly for its local identity, its culture, its heritage. It's such a delicate balance, a real tightrope walk. And it highlights how powerful our collective choices as travelers are, even if we don't realize it. From how we arrive, what we expect. The places we stay, every decision subtly nudges the future evolution of these places we love. So maybe ask yourself, what kind of haven are you really looking for when you travel? And what kind of impact does that search, that choice have on the places you visit? Something to think about.